Good morning to you guys here on YouTube. Appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you guys have not already, do hit the subscribe button there at the bottom of your screen. Also click the bell notification so you can get alerts when we go live as well as when we post videos. We've got a lot of stuff to break down here this morning. A big shift overnight and this morning with our models and our ensembles in terms of where our tropical wave is going to be going. Now, I do think personally we should start to get a designation of at least an invest, if not a named storm, by the end of this week here. Hopefully an invest by today or tomorrow so we can start to get an idea on where this thing is going to go. The ensembles are all over the place, and the reason why that mostly is due to the lack in there being a center of low pressure inside of our tropical wave. But we are starting to see a low-level center start to be a little bit more confined, meaning that we should start to see development soon. Now, I will let you guys know we're over days and days and days out from this. If this were to head toward the United States, it would be towards the middle and end of next week. So we have many days to watch this. I'm going to start to show you guys things here as we start to, watch this wave move westward, potentially either becoming a fish storm and moving out to sea or impacting islands. And it does look to be more of a scenario right now where the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, any of these smaller islands that are out in the middle of the ocean are going to have a better shot at getting hit by a potential storm either this go around or maybe even in the future. So, and that's due to the tropics just really starting to ramp up here. So we're going to break down all this here. We've also got some severe weather. We're going to be live severe weather coverage mode later on this afternoon for some large hail, a couple of tornadoes, and maybe even some flash flooding across portions of Kansas and Missouri later on this evening. So we got a lot of things to break down in this video here. We'll start with the upper level satellite imagery and what we've got ongoing here. And there is our cold front, the one we've been talking about for quite some time. That is going to be moving down a piece of energy here that's going to help spawn those thunderstorms in and around Kansas and Missouri this afternoon. Cold air aloft, very cold air aloft helps hailstorms grow or hailstones grow a lot quicker, therefore allowing for, large hail to develop. And that cold front, once it swoops through, you're going to feel it. It's going to be a traditional cold front here. We're definitely going to have those temperatures dropping behind that front here this morning. We've also got a little bit of cloud cover and some convection down here in North Carolina and Tennessee. Just general thunderstorms, not expecting anything too crazy like that. And then that low pressure that we were watching over Florida a couple days ago is now moving off to the northeast, trying to take on subtropical characteristics. Not too worried about that. And then we also have Hurricane Lorraine down here in the Baja California area that we're going to be covering and talking more about as well, because this will be making landfall in California, Baja California tomorrow, and then eventually we'll be surging moisture up into Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas later on at the beginning of next week, where we could see some severe weather as well as the threat for some flash flooding. So a lot of things to break down, and then we got the tropics we're watching. So we've also got two hurricanes as well that are going to be moving their way in the Pacific. We've got Hurricane Kiko that could be headed towards Hawaii next week, and then we've got the one down here near Lorraine. So we'll keep you guys updated on that here. I'll also go ahead and walk you guys through what we're going to be seeing today with the tropics here, and we'll start out with Hurricane Kiko, Category 2 hurricane, rapidly intensified overnight and is expected to become a Cat 3 hurricane, if not almost already here. Very small compact hurricane. Small compact hurricanes typically strengthen a lot quicker here. So Hurricane Kiko continuing to move west-northwest is expected to head its way towards Hawaii. You can start to see the islands popping up here. So we are going to be watching this as we go towards next week for possible Hawaii impacts. It's not set in stone yet if that's going to happen or not, but this will stay a hurricane through much of the weekend, if not a major hurricane through Saturday, and then eventually maybe start to weaken a little bit as it approaches the eastern islands of Hawaii there. So something we're watching for trends. We'll keep you guys updated on that. Also talking about Hurricane Lorena here is what I meant to say, not Lorraine. Lorena, a little bit messier of an organization here. It's kind of all over the place, but you can really start to see that center of circulation really popping out here. And this will, in fact, maybe potentially intensify just a little bit more before eventually making landfall in Baja California either today or tomorrow. That time frame just a little bit kind of back and forth here just due to how big the storm is and where it's moving and how fast it's moving. So something we're going to make note of here. But regardless of that, expect significant flooding in Baja California, hurricane force winds, as well as the threat for some isolated tornadoes for any outer bands that move up. So we're going to be watching that for you guys as well. Here's also the track for that as well. We have hurricane watches and tropical storm warnings out right now as well for those wind gusts that are going to be up to 75 plus miles per hour. And then we're going to also have those tropical storm force winds anywhere from Baja California back down toward the southern portions there. And eventually this will move inland to portions of New Mexico. And you're like, well, hold on a second. Why are we in the cone in Arizona? We're never in a hurricane cone. Well, the reason why that is because this is going to shift moisture north, and it's not just going to evaporate as it moves across Mexico. There will be a remnant low that's going to be moving through here, and we can't rule out tropical depression winds. That's around 30 to 35 mile per hour winds somewhere down here in southern Arizona. So if you're in southern Arizona, you need to be watching here as we go towards next week here. Going into Sunday is more that time frame when we start to see those impacts, and then eventually that moisture is going to shoot further to the north, and we'll talk about what that looks like here in just a moment as well. We don't have a designation yet quite on our area that we're watching in the Atlantic here. I'll pull this up so you guys can see. First off, if you can take a look here on the right side of the screen a bunch of African tropical waves that are going to be coming off the coast here, and that's going to really ramp up our hurricane season as we go into next week, the 3rd week and 4th week of September. We continue to see these waves. The MJO becomes more favorable. We start to see some Kelvin waves that try to enhance these waves to get them going. Also, if you're looking where our wave is at currently right now, this is it. Starting to see a little bit more of some tightening, some broader convection here. Nowhere near organized. And I mentioned you guys in yesterday's video, the longer that this tracks west, the more chance we have of this hitting land masses as we go into next week. So that's something we're watching very closely. And like I said, if you're in Puerto Rico, the Leeward Islands, the Lesser Antilles, even along the East Coast, we got to be watching this thing, guys, because this may do some interesting things as we go towards next week. The models are all over the place, but hopefully we'll start to see grouping of ensembles and have a better idea as we go into the weekend here on what's going to be happening with that. It's only Wednesday and we've still got a long way to go with this system, so something we'll be making note of there. And talking about the National Hurricane Center here, we still have a 70% chance of a tropical cyclone developing in the next 7 days. This is the latest 8 o'clock advisory from this morning. We'll get the noon one this afternoon here in just a little bit. 30% chance of tropical development in the next 48 hours, so a big area here to watch. And like I said, there's a lot of scenarios. This can, go west here, this can go north, this can go out to sea. I will let you guys know a lot of the ensembles are painting a picture in terms of a landfall somewhere, maybe even in the Leeward Islands here. So we've got a lot of time to watch. And like I said, the weaker that this system tracks, or the weaker this system is, the further west it's going to track, the stronger it gets, the further north it would pull. So we're not gaining latitude right now, which is a little bit more concerning. And if we look at our GFS ensembles here for this afternoon, I'll pull this, or more than likely for this morning here, we got a lot of discrepancies still. The GFS has been very, very biased to keeping most of the ensembles out to sea here. I don't know how much I buy that, and the reason why that is because they're not, the GFS is typically biased anywhere to, seeing a storm not quite yet have a low level center or really get itself together. So we'll start to see more than likely the GFS move around closer to the Euro. The Euro and the Icon have been pretty consistent in terms of where the ensemble tracking is at. Not saying that we can't get a fish storm out of this, but this is one scenario. We take this, as a grain of salt. We'll watch it. We'll see what happens here, but definitely, hopefully we'll get an out to sea curve. That would be nice to go. But then you got to look at the other scenario here. So not only are we just looking at, the ensembles over 7 to 10 days out, most confidence on the GFS ensembles, at least as of right now, have this pulling northwestward, although we haven't quite yet see that northwest pull. That's what we're hoping to see. But then you look at the European ensembles, and it's a completely different story here. European ensembles only go a couple hours out here through next Tuesday. But like I said, we're still going to be watching this system all the way through next week. And by the time next Tuesday gets here, September 9th, we're still keeping this system well east of the Leeward Islands. So we have 5 to 7 days to watch this in terms of any land masses being interacted here. We've also got another wave that'll be coming off behind that. But looking at the difference between the GFS and the Euro wants this thing to go west. And if that were to happen with a weaker storm, we will have land interaction more than likely with that. That's definitely a possible scenario. And then we look at the GFS again, and the GFS just wants this thing moving out to sea. Until we see more model support with this scenario, I'm not really buying it too much right now. I'm kind of in more trend with the Euro, but like I said, it's trends. We have to watch trends. Also, I want you guys to understand as well, if you look over here toward the Gulf, both the GFS and the Euro are showing the potential for a tropical wave or system next week as well in the Caribbean and Gulf. So welcome to our peak hurricane season, guys. We're officially 7 days away from the peak day of hurricane season, and then we start to climb down that ladder, but there is only 50% of the season left to go, and we've still got a long way to go, and it's going to be the most active portion of the season as we go into September and going into October. So a lot of things to keep you guys updated on, but I just wanted to let you guys know the trends are shifting west, southwest a little bit in favor of some type of interaction with land as we go into next week. So something we're going to be watching very, very closely here for you guys. I also want to show you guys these as well. We have a couple other ensembles. We got some AI ensembles here that also do a pretty well job at painting the picture. This is the FNV3. So these are some other anomalies that we look at, and you look at these, and you've got the second wave behind this. That's our second wave, but look where we're seeing a lot of these go at. We have a lot of land interaction, and then eventually a pull to the north at some extent. Some pull it to the north, some don't. So I want you guys to understand, I don't know where this is going to go. No other Met knows where this is going to go. The point of what we're getting at is we've got lots of time to watch this. Things are going to change. Things are going to move around. Welcome to, forecasting hurricane season. So that's just part of it here. And we also take a look here as well at our other ensembles. These are the GENC ensembles here. And these also paint a picture as well, kind of interact with the GFS, but most of them take this west and then eventually try to pull it out to sea. It's just, when does that pull out happen? When does it go further north here? And then we have that second wave behind it. So a lot of things to figure out. We'll keep you guys updated on the tropics, but I do want to go ahead and get to the severe weather side of things for today, as we do have a severe weather threat today. The threat for large hail, very large hail in excess of baseball size from Kansas City, Missouri, back down into Wichita, Kansas. So eastern and central Kansas and western and central Missouri, you guys need to have a alerts on your phones today. Isolated tornado threat, damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour possible, and the threat for extremely large hail up to 2.75 inches in diameter could be on the table today. That low-end tornado risk more confined towards eastern and central Kansas. Everybody outside of that, less than 2%, but not 0, so be mindful of that. Pretty brief tornado window today between about 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. Then we have that wind threat at 15 and 5%. We also have the hatched hail threat as well today. As you guys can see here, looking at Kansas City, Missouri, back into Wichita, Lawrence, Topeka, you guys have the threat for large hail as well today. And also, I've got my display graphic up here so you guys can see. I meant to show this before I pulled that up, but you guys can see that SPC level 1 risk and level 2 risk out of 5 for today. The probabilities of getting a watch today are there. We definitely will more than likely get a severe thunderstorm watch with there being a hatched hail threat today, so expect that later on this afternoon, probably around the 3 or 4 o'clock time frame. And then we do have that elevated, more in terms of low wind to elevated tornado threat today, large hail threat being the main, and then we'll have the damaging wind and that flooding threat for any storms that do train. So once again, we'll be keeping you guys updated on that this afternoon. We will have live severe weather coverage this afternoon as well once that event gets going, if it need to be. We'll keep you guys updated on the latest on that. And I'll show what that graphic looks like here in a minute on where those storms are going to go and what that model could look like. But we get to tomorrow, and we got another marginal risk for severe weather. This goes from basically New York all the way down through Pennsylvania, pretty much the whole state of PA, almost all of New York, back down towards Virginia, West Virginia, getting into North Carolina, Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky. As this front moves through, we are going to see the threat for some low-end wind, very weak tornado threat tomorrow at 0 pretty much, but not 0, less than 2% though. Wind threat at 5% and that hail threat less than 5. So looking at more of a 60-mile-an-hour wind event tomorrow if you are in the mid-Atlantic up toward the northeast. And then we get into the day 3, and we're not expecting a lot as of right now. But I want to mention one thing. We do have some guidance pulling a lot of this tropical moisture going into the Saturday time frame here. We could see some type of severe weather threat evolve maybe into eastern Oklahoma, Arkansas. There are some SIPS guidance and some CSU model guidance that does show a marginal or slight risk being issued, and the Storm Prediction Center actually mentioned at the bottom of this paragraph for this day here on day 3 that we could actually see a marginal risk introduced if instability and deep layer shear do in fact become a thing, to where we can get warm frontal convection initiated. So that's something we're going to be watching. Nothing highlighted there yet, but we could see something highlighted by Friday here, something to make note of. And then we go through the day 4 through 8 outlook, and it does look to be we will more than likely start to see severe weather enter the picture as we go through day 5 and day 8 up in the high plains as we see new troughing develop. So that's something we're going to be watching. Welcome to fall severe weather season, guys, where severe weather season starts to kick off once again. And then welcome to the tropics, where we're going to keep busy as always. So here's a rough estimate of the timeline for today and where we could be seeing these showers and storms at. And once again, seeing those supercells erupt right around that 4 to 5 p.m. time frame from Topeka down. These are going to be very brief, and they're going to move pretty quickly. I would say this is going to be about a 4 to 5 hour window this afternoon. So a pretty quick day for storms, but these will have the chance for large hail, damaging winds, and a couple of tornadoes are definitely possible around 4 to 5 p.m. and then eventually moving towards Wichita, Kansas City, Missouri around 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m. And then eventually these will fizzle out as we get closer to the overnight hour. So very, very low end trend for severe weather today, but we do have that threat for very large hail. We've got to watch out for that. I do think sometimes the models do underplay these setups sometimes, so we could see more sporadic convection than what's actually being shown on the model run. So just something to kind of make note of there as well. One more thing we'll do here, we'll briefly talk about our forecast here. There is our big old polar jet stream moving down here out of Canada. You can see that trough in full force here. We've also got our tropical storm / hurricane down here south of Baja, California. And basically what's going to happen going through the week is our hurricane makes landfall in Baja. Cold air comes down. We're not really expecting any significant severe weather going towards any other time frames. As I mentioned here on Friday and Saturday, could see a little episode of severe weather on Friday and Saturday, maybe even moving some flash flooding and some low end severe weather up into the Texas, New Mexico, Arizona area from the remnants of that low moving through going into Saturday and Sunday. And then eventually by Sunday and Monday, that trough's going to move out, and we'll continue to see a warming trend as we go into next week, where we see a new pattern set up. And what this is going to do, as I've been talking the last couple of days, is help us set up a severe weather pattern going into the second week of September. We'll start to see ridging build, and then therefore we get back into this warm pattern where we see severe weather again. And this is something a little bit concerning to me, is seeing a pretty big ridge. And you know, this is not what we want to see going into peak hurricane season, is a ridge on the East Coast and Central Plains, because that's going to basically allow for storms to get shoved either west in our direction or up into the Gulf. So that's something we've got to take note of as well going into hurricane season as well, because typically we want to see cold fronts moving through. Those typically push our systems out to sea. We'll keep you guys updated on the latest on that. But if it means that our tropical wave doesn't get here until late next week, that may put the United States at play for some type of impacts, unlike if it comes in earlier next week, where we could see that trough that's going to be moving through kind of sweep it out. So a lot of different things to watch. And like I said, the return for severe weather going into the end of next week, definitely on the table. Somewhere here from the Rockies back up into the high plains is somewhere I'm definitely watching for severe weather. And then after that, things become a little bit more uncertain. You can even see on the right side of your screen, ridging promotes tropical waves moving in our direction, at least in attempting to. And this is over 300 hours out at this point, so we take that with a grain of salt. But I just want to give you guys an idea on how active it's going to get as we get into the month of September. So a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to be updated about. So make sure you guys stay tuned to the channel. One more thing I will show you guys here, just those rainfall totals over the next 7 to 10 days. I like to give you guys those estimates just so you guys can see what's going to be happening. And this is rainfall through next Monday and Tuesday. And where do you see those higher pockets of monsoon rain from our tropical wave? Right up in here, Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma, back down into central and southern Texas, even some higher pockets of rain along eastern Kentucky, Tennessee for that cold front moving through tomorrow. But we will see most of that heavy rainfall back down here into the southern plains and the Four Corners as that tropical moisture moves through. So we'll have a live stream here, guys, in just a little bit. I'll also be doing live coverage later on this afternoon. Stay safe out there, have alerts on your phones, and we'll keep you guys updated on the latest.